As the kind introduction, I appreciate that. I'm going to run through some slides just talking about the domain name industry, the general trends, some of the local initiatives that we're doing around Marketplace Health Index, talk to you a little bit about the universal acceptance projects, and also bring awareness to the privacy proxy program that's currently underway at ICANN. And if anybody has any questions during the session or after the session, I'm going to be around all day, so please feel free to come talk to me, preferably in English, hopefully. Thanks. So again today, as I mentioned, we're going to just go over the landscape of the DNS, talk a little bit about the Marketplace Health Index, what that means and what is it, universal acceptance of new TLDs and the steering group involved with that, the new GTLD program, as well as update on new GTLD subsequent rounds. So today, currently, we're sitting at a little bit more than 331 million domain names under management, and that includes all Gs, new TLDs, as well as CCTLDs. The year-over-year growth rate is pretty healthy and steady at 2.1%. I'm looking at the country codes, and I circled Brazil here because it's number 7 on the list of the country codes. We're sitting at a little more than 144 million domain names in total, with a year-to-year growth rate a little higher than the TLDs at 2.6%. As it pertains to the top-level domain names, as of the end of Q2 2017, we're sitting at roughly 24.3 million registrations, which represents a little bit more than 7% of that 330 million registration number of all TLDs that I mentioned earlier. Of the top 10 new GTLDs, they represent a little bit more than 60% of all the new GTLDs. Whoops. I lost my... Oh, okay. I lost my table with my talking points, and now the chart displays the new GTLD registrations as a percentage of the global TLD domain name registrations. And growth in the South and Latin America remains steady for the new GTLDs as well as CCTLDs, and then obviously for the registrar growth. Registrars that represent this region make up close to 3% of the total number of registrars in the world. But we're continuing to look to grow that number. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the privacy proxy program and what that means. So today there's 2 contracted parties within ICANN. Whoops. It's the registries that are the TLD providers, and it's the registrars that resell to consumers or registrants that offer up the domain names. At this point in time, we're about to introduce a new contracted party called the Privacy Proxy Contracted Party. And most of those will be registrars that are in existence today. They will become a new contracted party known as Privacy Proxy Accredited Service Providers. And what privacy or proxy services are, it's basically masking the underlying contact information within the WHOIS system. So think of your name being exposed in the WHOIS system with your address and your phone number, your billing contact, your technical contact. But instead of exposing your information, the registrar actually masks that information with a template so that your information is not out there. And that's referred to either as a proxy or a privacy service. Ooh. Went too fast. So the background of this is in the 2013 Registrar Agreement. There's a specification that calls for privacy proxy obligations and the requirements associated to those service providers. And in place of pending policy implementation to create the accreditation program, we've been working aggressively over the last 2 years within the implementation review team to roll out the privacy proxy program. The PDP launched in 2014, and by the PDP I mean the policy development process. in 2014 and it completed in January of 2016. So since then, we've been working hard to implement the program. And the ICANN board approved the final recommendations a little over a year ago. Once the ICANN board approves the final recommendations, that gives staff, the ICANN staff, the direction to go ahead and formulate the implementation review team to finalize the program and launch it. So the proposed program, for the most part, has been modeled after the Registrar Accreditation Program. Given the population within the ICANN community, we believe that majority of privacy proxy providers will be registrars, as those services are currently offered today through registrars. And we are just formalizing those services. Once the program is launched, the registrars must knowingly accept registrations, must not knowingly accept registrations from providers that are not accredited. And the reason for that is we want to limit abuse of domains, and we want to be able to allow the public safety, the law enforcement agencies around the world to accomplish their jobs by identifying quickly the bad actor behind a domain name, for instance. There'll be an ICANN managed compliance program associated to this, like there are for other contracted parties, as I mentioned before, registries and registrars. And for the providers that are affiliated with registrars, some requirements might be met through affiliated registrars. So basically, the timeline to implement this program will be March 2019, when the first accredited providers will be announced, and then the compliance program will go into existence. Up till now, in the next coming months, we'll be going to public comment, so we're looking forward to the community to providing comment to the program. We'll be addressing those comments in the latter part of January, February, and then we'll send those up to the board for consideration. And then the final program announcements will come out in the spring, and then we're hoping by fall the application will start accepting applications to become a privacy proxy accredited provider, and then hopefully early spring of 2019 we'll launch the program. So as you can see, that there's a long cycle associated to this, but that's the point of the multi-stakeholder approach. So now I'm going to move into the new GTLD Marketplace Health Index. So the project launched in 2005, and it tracks the progress of ICANN's Objective 2.3, which is to support the evolution of the domain name marketplace to be robust, stable, and trusted. What does that mean? That means we set up a community advisory panel in ICANN to design metrics, and we have 2 members today from the Latin America region as part of the advisory panel. The advisory panel is a little different within ICANN, as we look to the advisory panels to help drive the strategy associated to the Marketplace Health Index initiative. So it's a little different than a working group or an IRT. The metrics data could be used to track industry trends, inform a future policy work, and outreach, measure impacts of policy and contractual changes. To guide the creation of the metrics, ICANN defined the following goals. 1, diversity. Diversity is key for us in general across ICANN, as well as within the advisory board and the Marketplace Health Index. Geographic scripts, service models, and languages offered. Also, the commercial marketplace is thriving. We want to demonstrate the growth in the new GTLDs and across all GTLDs. The marketplace is open to new players. We want to bring awareness and education to the general marketplace about the health of the domain name industry and make them aware of it. Marketplace competition is perceived to be fair, and the marketplace is not dependent on one or a small number of players to continue to grow and remain healthy. So in our current beta version that was published in July, the total number of jurisdictions with at least one GTLD registrator or operator is included. Other metrics that we focused on is the rate of new second-level registrations, adds and deletes in GTLDs broken down by GTLD category, legacy, new, geographic, IDNs, and brands. The number of new GTLDs accredited and de-accredited over time to show the stability or peaks in the GTLD marketplace, and the terms of how many businesses are entering and leaving the market around the world, and the percentage of UDRP or URS decisions decided against registrations as a percentage of total filed cases. So these are just some sample metrics, and we're going to continue to expand on those. So just an example of the total number of second-level domain registrations into the new GTLDs. As you can see here, this is just a sample set of what we're pulling within the report. As it pertains to the robust marketplace, this is the total number of accredited GTLD registrars in each ICANN region, counting them based on family or grouping of registrars as one registrar. And as of December 2015, we have roughly 17 registrars in the Latin America region that make up the family of 457 registrars, or unique registrars. Sorry for that. So there's definitely an opportunity within this region to continue to grow and expand the number of registrars we have in existence today. So this is the percentage of the total GTLD registry operators in the region. So for Latin America today, there's 10 out of the 380 unique registries. So the advisory panel of volunteers, so as we were talking a little bit about diversity, they make up a worldwide selection of those that come from different walks of life. And we look to the advisory panel to provide us the strategic direction for the Marketplace Health Index as we continue to support the diversity as well as the education and awareness of the domain name marketplace. We have 3 advisory panels today from South America. So recent milestones and ongoing efforts. Initial public call for comments and volunteers went out in November of 2015. Comment summary posted on February 2016 regarding the metrics. ICANN published the metrics in September and received additional feedback at ICANN 57. ICANN developing a new generation of metrics in consultation with the advisory panel and working meetings. And the draft version 1 indicators is now developed to be followed by a third-party evaluation, as well as acquisition of relative data sets. In the interim, ICANN continues to publish updates to the metrics reports every 6 months in order to provide a picture of the evolution. And the most recent report can be found at icann.org, which features today 26 beta metrics, of which I just gave you a sample set earlier. And we continue to work on this and refining it for the community. I'm going to move on now to universal acceptance. Whoops. So universal acceptance is a state where all valid domain names and email addresses are accepted, validated, stored, processed, and disabled correctly and consistently by internet-enabled applications and devices and systems. Basically, this is to remove the barrier of entry to allow new GTLDs and scripted TLDs, not ASCII's TLDs, to be able to resolve and work like a legacy TLD. And here's some examples listed below of the international domain names, new GTLDs, and international email address. So fundamentally, what is this? This is a software application issue. The DNS works, the standards works, and the chief information officers as well as the CEOs are a little late to the party to adopt new GTLDs within their roadmap. So we are on a mission to reach as many of these parties as possible to get the new GTLDs on their roadmaps for development, so we can continue to garner the use and effectiveness of new TLDs. So why does it matter? As I mentioned before, we require a multilingual internet to enable the next billion users, and it's critical to the stability and the security of the DNS. So we're always seeking for volunteers to get involved and help us with the Universal Acceptance Steering Committee. You can find out more about that group on ICANN.org. Or ask me any questions later today. I'll point you in the right direction. So in conclusion, the DNS industry is evolving and growing. There's multiple DNS initiatives underway, and we'd like for you to participate so we can continue to grow and evolve and have representation throughout the world. And this is how you can engage with us. Thank you.